Welcome to the Deloitte Women of Influence Luncheon Series. This is our last event of the fall season. We have a small, intimate crowd today of about 1,400 people. Carolyn was joking that Bay Street is empty. We're all here, so thank you for coming out. My name is Marcia McMillan. I'm from CTV News. It is my pleasure to be here today. Who's here for the first time? Show of hands. You're in for a great treat. Welcome to the community. You're in for an inspiring event. Over the last 2 decades, Women of Influence has been bringing A-list speakers to the podium, reporting on the most current and inspirational success stories, partnering with highly respected executive teachers, and delivering the best practices to evolve corporate culture. Today, I'm thrilled to announce we are officially celebrating the 2014 Top 25 Women of Influence. This ranking is our annual salute to those women who are accomplishing awe-inspiring change, and we are beyond honored to be celebrating them today. Candidates in 5 categories were approached and ranked on various measures of influence, including the number of degrees held, current board directorships held, current and past awards, along with several other criteria. The women we honor this year leverage their roles and success to contribute to an even greater cause within their companies, their industries, and in communities, both here at home and around the world. These 25 women are featured in the winter issue of the Women of Influence magazine, which you are all receiving a personal copy of today. They validate the work Women of Influence has been doing over the past couple of decades to bring you the role models that we all need to advance in our career. Now, to officially kick off our afternoon, I would like to welcome to the stage President and CEO of Women of Influence, Carolyn Lawrence, to acknowledge this year's top 25 women. Carolyn.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Welcome. Wow. I'm so honored to be hosting you here today. Before we get started, a few of you will know that I like to take a moment to see who's in the room. So indulge me and stand if you are a woman in the workforce. That's an impressive group. Now keep standing if you've achieved a management level of success or higher. Did anyone sit down? Okay. Keep standing if you've achieved a senior executive level of success or higher. Incredible. Keep standing if you're one of this year's top 25 Women of Influence. You can be seated. While I read your names, I'd like to go through the list of the top 25 Women of Influence who are here today. In the category of business, Marianne Turk, BCE, Bell Media. Sorry, I have the wrong, yes, Marianne Turk, Bell Media. Kathy Bardswick, The Cooperators. Zabine Hergy, RBC. Karen Sheriff, BCE. Sue Abohukima, Amica Mobile Corporation. In the category of health, Dr. Eve Tsai, the Ottawa Hospital, University of Ottawa. Dr. Catherine Zahn, Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Yes. Connie Clarisi, Closing the Gap Healthcare. Dr. Rosemary Moody, the Hospital for Sick Children. Daniela Crivianu-Gaeta, Gamma Dynacare Medical Laboratories. Sarah Austin, World Vision Canada. Irene Orsia-Sushko, World Federation of Ukrainian Women's Organizations. Carol Wilding, Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. Farah Mohammed, Girls 20. In the Professional Services category, Annette Bergeron, Professional Engineers of Ontario. Cheryl Resson, Tories. Sharon Garrity, Tories. and Pernell Fisher Bolter, Kiss Her Up International Trade Routes. And lastly, the public sector, Ann Sato, George Brown College, Olga Kovalchuk, University of Lethbridge, Kathleen Wynne, Province of Ontario, and Janice Sarah, Peter Wall Institute for Advanced Studies, Faculty of Law, University of British Columbia. Between these women, they manage over 34,000 employees. They occupy 123 board seats. They have earned 63 awards in this year alone, and they are responsible for managing and raising over $47 billion. The point is, and why we are all here today, is what Women of Influence is all about, providing access to role models as the beginning of the conversation. We've been working with you for 20 years, listening to your stories, bringing you inspiration to keep breaking records and setting new standards. It's also why we're so excited to present our featured role model to you today, Kathleen Wynne, and why we as a business have grown and broadened to deliver you the rest of that conversation through courses, through stories, and solutions that you want and need, in addition to bringing the strategic support for corporations that want and need you. So welcome to all. I sincerely hope that you can find many points of inspiration joining us to connect, advance, and to prepare to lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn, and congratulations once again to the top 25 women of influence. One of these women, of course, today is our keynote speaker, the Premier of Ontario, Kathleen Wynne, who will share with us her invaluable insights into her political career, and perhaps we'll make a little news today during our Q&A. We'll find something out about you that we didn't previously know. So start thinking of your questions. I'd like to take a moment now to thank our sponsors for help making this luncheon series possible. Of course, our title sponsor, Deloitte, BMO Nesbitt Burns, Shoppers Drug Mart, Queen's School of Business. Yeah, you can applaud. The Jones Group, Knightsbridge Human Capital Solutions, Maclean's, Medisys, LinkedIn, Cambridge Group of Clubs, Canadian Cancer Society, Chestnut Park, Porter Airlines, Kids and Company, Rogers Television, CPAC, Broadreach Communications, Girls 20, our charity of choice, and the Globe and Mail. Before we introduce the head table, I just want to explain the format today. As you can see, your salad is waiting for you, so please start eating while I get through the housekeeping duties here. Shortly, we're going to welcome to the podium Shannon McDonald, Audit Partner and Chief Inclusion Officer with Deloitte, to introduce our keynote speaker for today. Without further ado, I will now introduce the head table, and I ask that each of you stand as you are introduced, and we will hold our applause, if we can, until the end. So your head table representatives are Carolyn Lawrence, President and CEO, Women of Influence; Shannon McDonald, Audit Partner and Chief Inclusion Officer, Deloitte; Steve Orsini, Secretary, Government of Ontario; Julie Burnham-Ward, Vice President and Managing Director, BMO Nesbitt Burns; Sheila Stoneham, Senior Vice President, Marketing, Shoppers Drug Mart; Julia Woods, Principal, Career Solutions Practice, Knightsbridge; Willa Black, Vice President, Corporate Affairs, Cisco; Dr. Vivian Brown, Vice President of Medical Affairs, Medisys Health Group, and Assistant Professor, Department of Family and Community Medicine at the University of Toronto; Lisa Heidman, Senior Client Partner, the Bedford Consulting Group and North American Director, Bedford Legal; Andrea Lukashoff, President and Founder, Broadreach Communications; Jane Routhwaite, President and Managing Partner, the Osborne Group; and Carrie Kirkman, who I noticed is over there today, President, the Jones Group. And finally, our keynote speaker this afternoon, Premier Kathleen Wynne, the Premier of Ontario. Ladies and gentlemen, your head table. So today we have not one but two grand door prizes for our lucky winners. Both of these prizes have everything you need to be a woman of influence, from education to fashion to travel To enter both draws, you're going to visit womenofinfluence.ca/win on your mobile phones or on the tablets that are being circulated today throughout the room. Fill out the electronic ballot. That is womenofinfluence.ca/win. The first Grand Door prize is being offered by our feature sponsor today. Yes, Carrie's nodding. Jones New York, who's giving you and a friend the chance to win the gift of holiday cheer. And here's what the gift includes. High tea for two at the Windsor Arms Hotel, followed by a personal consultation with a Jones New York stylist to help you select your perfect holiday outfits. This prize is valued at $1,000, so that's prize number one. The second Grand Door prize, which contains everything you need to live the Women of Influence lifestyle, is valued at over $10,000. And thanks to our sponsors, you will be eligible to win. And hear me out, because this is a long list. From Shoppers Drug Mart, a $100 beauty boutique card. From Queen's School of Business, an executive education program valued at up to $3,500. From Porter Airlines, 2 round-trip tickets to any of their 20 destinations. From Kids and Company, an emergency backup package of 15 childcare visits to any Kids and Company location. From Knightsbridge Human Capital Solutions, a signed copy of You First by New York Times best-selling author Dr. Leanne Davey. From Maclean's, a 1-year subscription to the magazine, Canada's most popular current affairs magazine. From BMO Nesbitt Burns, 2 tickets to our spring 2015 season opener Luncheon in Toronto, featuring an exclusive C-suite panel. From Cambridge Group of Clubs, a 1-month executive fitness membership and personalized fitness benchmarking session at the Toronto Athletic Club. From LinkedIn, an upgraded Sales Navigator premium account for 1 year, which includes a half-hour consult with a LinkedIn account manager and a gift basket. And for those of you who are still wondering, still don't have my LinkedIn, but all completed ballots will be eligible for our annual prize of an executive education program from Queen's School of Business, valued at $8,900. So that's a lot up for grabs today for 2 lucky winners. Be sure, please, to submit your ballots at womenofinfluence.ca/win before 1:30. Please note the winners will be called up on stage today to accept the prize, so you must be in the room to win. You must be in the room, so fill that out before 1:30. So before lunch is served, another note, I want to share a special message from our sponsor, Canadian Cancer Society. And sometimes the best gift is in the giving, and so we encourage you this holiday season to support Canadians living with cancer by donating to this very worthy cause. Please visit cancer.ca to see how you can help. Please enjoy your salads. We'll see you shortly. Hello again. I hope everyone has enjoyed their salad. I just want to remind you once again to take a moment, please, to silence your phones before we get started. I would now like to welcome to the stage Shannon McDonald, Audit Partner and Chief Inclusion Officer, Deloitte, to the stage to give our opening remarks.
Welcome. Welcome to today's Deloitte Women of Influence Lunch. I'm delighted that we're here continuing to celebrate the 20th anniversary of these lunches. The men and women in this room truly bring their expertise, insights, and backgrounds to serve the organizations, the corporations, the governments, all the different engines that we have here in Toronto. And we do this by working together and leveraging the impressive diversity we have here in Toronto. And we're fortunate because we get to come to lunches like this, where we have so many people that we can meet. And here's an opportunity for us to motivate and inspire ourselves by meeting yet more people who are working towards similar causes and objectives. And so I encourage you to have an objective yourself when you come to something like this. And really, things like make sure you meet a new person and add them to your network. and make sure that you learn something new about someone that you know already. This is a great opportunity while you're here today. We all know that the viewpoints of women are very critical to our organizations. And organizations like Deloitte, the Ontario Public Service, and many other organizations here today ensure that women and men are represented equally at their leadership tables. And no one can achieve this better than our Premier, Kathleen Wynne. I am so impressed with how authentic and passionate Kathleen is. She is someone who literally embraces her constituents and advocates tirelessly on their behalf. And yet you can see her move so smoothly from the community barbecue to the boardroom table. She is somebody who drives results with her passion. She is ensuring that mission, purpose, goals, objectives, and accountability are being felt throughout the public service. And this is in Ontario, but this is being felt across the country. Kathleen brings to her role a focus on clients, and those clients are us, the people in Ontario. And so we can be proud that she is working to ensure we have an integrated government, integrated in Ontario for efficiency, but also integrating with other provinces. That she's bringing innovation to the public service to ensure that we're engaging as constituents as well. And she is also ensuring we have an inclusive Ontario. An Ontario where men and women, persons with disabilities, visible minorities, members of the LGBT community, everyone has a voice in Ontario. Kathleen's made history by being the first female premier in Ontario. And and she's been also making history by being the first member of the LGBT community to openly hold a premier role as well. But I suspect we're seeing just the first step in Kathleen's making of history. This passionate wife, mother, politician is keeping the pressure that comes from the public eye, and she is transforming the public service here in Ontario. So please join me in welcoming Premier Wynne.
Well, what a room. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Bonjour, Annie, bonjour. It's truly wonderful to be here, and thank you, Shannon, for that introduction. And thank you so much, all of you. Carolyn, thank you very much for the warm welcome. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. We're all here gathered on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the New Credit, and there are a lot of you in this room, I just have to say. It's wonderful. It's a big lunch. It's humbling to be here in the company of hundreds of smart, ambitious, successful women and their male allies. I look to Steve. Thank you all for being here. And a cowbell. There's a cowbell in this room. How perfect is that? Room of women, you think of everything. And it's really humbling to be honored alongside 24 outstanding women. Women who are leaders in operating rooms, in boardrooms, in courtrooms, in government agencies, in not-for-profit organizations. Women for whom I have enormous respect and who I know share my humility as we join the incredible list of women who have received this award in years past. So I want to thank the Women of Influence organization for celebrating women in leadership positions. Thank you. The stories that you tell of how it can be done, how it has been done, are absolutely critical to getting more women into leadership roles. So are the seminars and the services that you offer to equip young women with confidence and knowledge to help them to succeed. Your work is empowering, and with empowerment, we're not just building a better world for women, we're building a fairer, more equal society for all. Votre travail permet d'acquérir de pouvoir, et avec ce pouvoir, nous ne faisons pas que bâtir un monde meilleur pour les femmes, nous bâtissons une société plus juste et plus égalitaire pour tout le monde. So on a late August day this past summer, I found myself thinking about women of influence in Charlottetown, PEI. It was the annual summer meeting of Canada's premiers. The Council of the Federation is what it is called. And the packed agenda for these meetings always includes photo ops, and the onus is on the host province to come up with an original idea. So PEI did not disappoint. They shuffled us off to Government House to be photographed on the same steps that the Fathers of Confederation were photographed on 150 years ago. In fact, our summer meeting in PEI took place almost exactly 150 years after the Fathers of Confederation gathered for the Charlottetown Conference. That meeting, in the first week of September 1864, laid the foundations of Confederation, the foundations of Canada. There was more work to be done before the British North America Act would be proclaimed on July 1st, 1867. But it was in Charlottetown that the concept of Confederation was first agreed to. And our journey from a cluster of colonies to the self-governing Dominion of Canada began. So 150 years later, there's the picture. That's right. So glad I wore a skirt. It was a debate. 150 years later, in front of a row of reporters and under a warm August sun, I was thinking about the women of influence in 1864. We learn about the Fathers of Confederation all the way from grade school, but who are the mothers of Confederation? George Brown, John A. Macdonald, Darcy McGee, all the delegates brought their wives to Charlottetown. But the wives are not in the photograph. They didn't sign the BNA Act, nor did they sit in the first Parliament. Our history speaks only of our Fathers of Confederation. So the mothers must have been of no opinion, no help. Now, we know that this cannot be entirely true, but it is a necessary part of our narrative. By making the assumption that women had no influence over the founding of this country, we're taught that the influence of women only grows as we assume the rights and privileges that were once the exclusive domain of men. As women take on the roles, titles, and powers that belonged to men alone, the influence of women continues to grow until one day we'll be equal. This is the slow march of our history and the promise, the progress that each generation has made for the next, and it is to be celebrated. But today, I'm also going to challenge it. In my view, it's a historical analysis that leaves out too much. In defining influence as a seat at certain tables, we leave generations of influential women off the list. It's a crime of our history, and it's a crime that we commit against history. But it also carries implications for the modern day. As we pursue equality at work and throughout society, the way we define influence matters. The value we place on certain types of influence has a direct and everyday impact on our socioeconomic environments and defines all of our roles and possibilities, not just those of women, but those of men, in building a fairer and more equal society. So 2 weeks ago, I was in Thunder Bay for the 43rd annual ONWA AGM, and that's the Ontario Native Women's Association. It was their 43rd annual general meeting. I told them that I would be speaking here today to a room of successful women, women of influence, women who have achieved a certain amount of status or leadership in their fields. And I told them that as important as it is to celebrate that and to push for more women in leadership positions, that it did not negate the fact that they too are women of influence. The women of influence are not just the women that you see on the stages of society. The women of influence are the mothers and the sisters and the grandmothers who are working in every single family in this country, in this world, to raise a generation, to teach their children, to look after and hold families together and hold communities together. The women of influence are the grandmothers who imagined Anwa, who thought Ontario Native Women's Association was a good idea. They're the personal support workers who are looking after our elderly. The women of influence are the women who are looking after our children in childcare, in kindergarten, in schools on reserves, and in every corner of the province where people are in pain, women of influence are nursing them and trying to help them to be healthy again. They are also women of influence. So the company that I join in humbly accepting this award and this privilege with all of you here today, we all have our own experience of that kind of influence that I'm talking about. Through our professional lives, we've also achieved another type of influence. We have a duty then to all women to use our influence to give voice to theirs, to make sure that the work that they do is understood and valued by society. Nous avons une responsabilité envers toutes les femmes, et cette responsabilité, c'est d'utiliser notre influence pour leur permettre de se faire entendre afin que le travail qu'elles accomplissent soit compris et apprécié par la société. The influence we have as women, whether it's in a boardroom or a child's bedroom, is not an end in and of itself. We don't seek equality or power or title for the sake of equality or power or title alone. We do it because of the difference that we can make. It's about our relationship to the issues and our approach to overcoming each challenge. Today, I am more than ever hopeful about the future. I think, we've said this before, but I think we're witnessing a change from those older power dynamics to new ones where there is more equality, where there's not just tolerance for those other voices to get through, but a celebration of the benefits that we all share from equality. And this is particularly true in politics, where it's been shown that where 30% of an elected body is female, there's a noticeable and measurable change in the tone and style and content of political decisions. That doesn't mean that women only focus on what have been traditionally called women's issues. What it means is that no one perspective or gender is equipped to fully appreciate the complexity of our world. Whatever the organization, if it's going to reach its full potential, it needs to fully understand the society in which it operates. And that means men and women need to have equal voice. It means that as we succeed in exercising influence in spheres that were historically male, we also need to elevate the importance of the historically female spheres of influence. If we have a narrow definition of influence, then women will continue to face obstacles. And I know this from my personal experience, from my own journey, beginning in my school trustee days or even before, and since the day in 2002 when I announced my intention to seek my party's nomination in Don Valley West. There have been my path has had barriers thrown up. There have been voices telling me all along the way to turn back because I'm a woman, because I'm a lesbian. And as one of my neighbors who was surprised at the fact that I became premier once said to me, because I'm just a mom. So if I think back to the Mothers of Confederation, we obviously live in a comparatively enlightened, progressive era. We live in an age in which women are as well or more educated than men, and without any hint of delusion, girls today can imagine their grown-up selves in any job. Now, we're still less likely to get there and to face barriers along the way, but we know it is possible. One of the barriers of today's equality and the rise of more women of influence, though it's one that impacts men too, is that if we take time away from the single-minded pursuit of our career to raise our kids, we know full well that we are placing a limit on our ambition. Our society doesn't know how to value that 2, 5, 10, 15 years sometimes gap in resume called parenting. So it basically does not receive value on a resume. You're just a mom, so what do you know about marketing or leadership, or in my case, running the province? Actually, as I said in my nomination speech in 2002, and some of you have heard me say this, really nothing in life prepared me better for politics than being a mother to my 3 kids. Nothing. I've been Premier for nearly 2 years now, and that rings true as ever. Being a mother taught me empathy, gave me a deeper understanding of the human experience and the complexity of people's needs. It taught me in a visceral way the importance of supportive environments for young people and inclusion throughout society. It taught me how to juggle 20 priorities at once, at the same time listening and caring and figuring out how to take action. And because I've been both a white, middle-class, heterosexual mom and a lesbian mom, once I figured that out, it taught me about the walls that people still face, walls that still go up to keep certain segments of society from having any voice, walls that keep the definition of influence narrow and out of our reach, walls that we have poked holes in, but we have not brought down. Jane and I found a way through, and all of you are finding a way through. We're helped by each other and by the generations of women who made it through before us. Because once those women arrived, they made their influence matter. The women who have achieved success in the various fields of labor have won the victory for us, but unless we all follow up and press onward, the advantage will be lost. Yesterday's success will not do for today. Those words were spoken nearly 100 years ago by Nellie McClung, a woman of influence, I think you would all agree, and a personal hero of mine. And that's what brings us together today. That's why women are in this room today. We're not content with our own victory. We all want to use our influence to help other women to use theirs. That's what Agnes MacPhail did, another famous woman of influence. In 1921, Agnes became the first Canadian woman elected to federal parliament. Re-elected 4 times, she was the only woman in the Commons for 14 years, where she fought for and won Canada's first old age pensions. We're still having that fight, right, Steve? And spearheaded reform in Canada's inhumane prisons. Later in her career, Agnes ran provincially, and she became one of the first 2 women elected to the Ontario legislature, where she tried to bring about Ontario's first equal pay legislation. Her bill was defeated in 1949, but eventually the government passed such legislation in 1951. In the House, Agnes criticized the bill as a weak and ineffectual bill, nothing more than a gesture, but an important gesture nonetheless and a step in the right direction. So it's amazing that 60 years after her death, we still don't have equal pay for equal work. We're inching closer, but we're not there yet. Agnes was indisputably a woman of influence. But to my point today, so was her mother, Henrietta Campbell. Mrs. Campbell never gave a speech or passed a law or ran a company, but she raised Agnes. And as Agnes herself said, I owed it to my father that I was elected to Parliament in the first place, but I owed it to my mother that I stuck out once I got there. That's right. Now, there's actually a debate on that quote, whether she said I stuck out or I stuck it out. It could be either one, quite frankly. In raising my own children, I hope that I've been the influencer that Agnes's mother was for her, that my mother was for me. And as the first woman, lesbian, and grandmother in the Premier's chair, I hope I have as positive an influence on society as Agnes had as an MP and an MPP. That's how I can help all women to be recognized for their profound influence, wherever that is applied, and continue the legacy of empowerment that goes back to a time before the Mothers of Confederation sailed for Charlottetown. It's why I speak about personal support workers, and it's why our budget includes money to raise their salaries this year and in each of the next 2 years. It's why I speak about the Native grandmothers and all of the women of influence who do not get a stage. And it's also why, earlier this week, we announced new rules to encourage more publicly traded companies to advance women onto boards and into senior and C-suite positions. That's right. Yesterday's success will not do for today. We must press onwards. In boardrooms or long-term care homes, women everywhere need us to influence action, and we are. Every one of you is part of the progress that we're making, and that makes me incredibly proud. I hope it does the same for you. But I'm still outraged by what we haven't done as a society, by the discrimination and the violence that is still part of the world in which we live in and our society. And I am determined to use my influence to make change. The need for action and influence is particularly acute when it comes to the issues surrounding sexual assault and violence against women. Earlier today, I announced that we are taking action on several fronts. Early in the new year, we will launch a public education campaign to challenge myths around sexual violence and its victims and to raise awareness of the support available to victims beyond the criminal justice system. We're holding ourselves to account by improving workplace discrimination, harassment, and violence prevention policies and training at Queen's Park. I have also specifically tasked my ministers with producing an action plan by March 8th, which is International Women's Day, with legislative and other initiatives to improve support for victims of sexual violence. We have to be innovative, we have to be bold and influential, because the rules and procedures and protections that we have right now, as much progress as we have made, are still not enough. Making progress in every decade is not enough when there are still too many people being victimized, and that is men and women both. And too many victims are not comfortable coming forward. The statistics are chilling, and they portray the cold, hard truths that we still face just because we are women. Like the fact that 1 in 3 Canadian women will experience sexual assault in her adult life. And the fact that 67% of Canadians, of all Canadians, say that they personally know at least one woman who's been sexually or physically assaulted. So these statistics mean that many, if not most, of the women in this room have probably experienced some form of sexual harassment or assault. Now, you have succeeded in spite of it, but many women have not. So I need your help. I need your influence. Women everywhere need your influence. There is a real danger in silence. If we do not talk about it or pretend that it's not pervasive or that it's not happening, then we're doing nothing to stop it from happening again and again. And we know that it is happening. We know that it's happening to young professionals, to missing and murdered Indigenous women, and all across society. Recent and outrageous incidents have brought this discussion from the shadows into the spotlight. And this is our opportunity to use our influence. In a shifting landscape, there are some cracks that are opening up, and we need to push through. The power of the moment cannot be ignored, and neither can our power, the power in this room, in all of you. It comes from those who went before, and it'll be handed to those who follow. We have always been women of influence, but now we have ways of publicly wielding our influence. And we can deliver profound and lasting change because of our positions. Indeed, we must press on or the advantage will be lost. So, thank you. Thank you for being here and for being agents of that change. I couldn't ask for a better set of role models for my granddaughters than the women in this room and the women that I am honored to be joining in accepting this award. Je ne saurais avoir de meilleur modèle de comportement à présenter à mes petites filles que les femmes ici présentes, de même que les femmes dont je suis honorée de joindre les rangs en acceptant ce prix. So before I finish, let's have a look at the photos I talked about at the beginning of my remarks. So there they are. There I am, and there's BC Premier Christy Clark. But if you airbrushed us out, with the photo's sepia tone, it would bear an eerie resemblance to the 1864 original. Because as far as we have come since the mothers of Confederation stood just outside the frame, influencing the shape of Canada quietly and without recognition, we have a ways to go. Looking out at this room tells me that we can get there. The Women of Influence is a fantastic organization and an important way that we're making progress. But maybe one day, we won't need to single out women who have made it onto the stages of society. There will just be too many of us. That's our hope, and that's why we must continue to honor and celebrate women today. In my maiden speech in the legislature, 11 years ago this month, I quoted Nellie McClung, and I'll close with this again today, because until that day when we don't have to center each other out, we must never retreat, never explain, never apologize, get things done, and let them howl. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Premier Wynne. Truly inspiring. We're going to be having you back to the stage, and I'll ask again for all of you to start thinking about your questions for the Premier. This is your chance. Please enjoy your main course. We'll be back in a short period of time, and don't forget to sign for the door prize. womenofinfluence.ca/win. Enjoy your meal. We'll see you shortly. I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch, and I invite you to carry on with your dessert, coffee, and tea if you have not already started. We're going to resume our program with the question and answer period for the Premier. Also remember, if you have not entered your electronic ballot for the Grand Door Prizes, this is your last chance, as we're going to be drawing the winner very shortly. We're going to welcome back to the stage now Premier Kathleen Wynne. I'm taking you away from the photos. I apologize.
I just have to remember, I owe you one.
Okay, we have 4 mics set up across the room. We have time for 4 questions. So if you have a question, make your way towards one of the mics. It's going to be a premium space.
And if I don't have the answer, somebody in this room will have the answer.
You'll have the answer. I'm sure you'll have the answer. Let's start, Premier. You talked a lot about your life. Your life has changed so dramatically in the last 6 months or so. Is there one thing that you miss? Since your schedule turned so hectic, is there one thing that you just don't have time for anymore, that you can't do? Give us a little insight into your personal time.
Driving with the radio on really loud. By myself. It sounds like a small thing, and I understand all the security issues, but it actually is a big change in my life, that I don't have that thinking time all on my own. But yeah, it sounds superficial, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
All right. I like that, driving by yourself. Okay, so I can't see all these mics. Have we got anyone back there in the far corner? Go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, my name's Justine Deluce. I'm with Chestnut Park Real Estate. And my question is, Premier, what is the most practical advice you've received, would you say, with respect to your political career?
I think the most practical advice that I have ever gotten and that I give, so I try to pass it along, is there are 2 parts to it. To listen to people who have experience, who have been part of getting people elected, or who are traditional, the backroom people who understand how the system works. But when you have an instinct about the way things should be, to follow your own instincts. So I talk about listening to the experts, but then there are times when you have to just put your hands over yours and say, I'm not going to listen to this anymore. Because if I had listened to people, I wouldn't probably have run for office. I probably wouldn't have run where I ran for office. I probably wouldn't have run for the leadership. So there is a point at which you just have to say, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I've listened to all your advice, but now I see a door opening for me, and I need to walk through that door and learn whatever lessons they're going to teach me. When I started, and I ran for school trustee in 1994, and Jane actually was my campaign manager for my first 2, 3, 4, she's telling me 4, first 4 campaigns, including a couple of nominations. We couldn't get anyone to help us. I wasn't really a card-carrying anything at that point. I always voted Liberal, but I wasn't part of the party machinery. And so when I ran for school trustee, I really wasn't part of that political milieu. But Jane and I looked at the ward and we looked at the map, and I said, well, if I go and knock on every one of those doors, I guess that's pretty much what this is about. And so that's what I did. Now, I lost that one by 72 votes, but we learned a lot about how to do it. So I think trusting your instincts, listening to the experts, a mix of that's the best advice I can give you.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're just waiting.
She's just waiting. So I'll move to the other side of the room. Can you put your hand up? I can't see if we've got someone else. Go ahead. Very good.
Good morning. Good afternoon, I guess. I'm Karen Dunkerine. I'm from TD Bank Group. I'm curious what proportion of your work you feel you can do sort of straight on in a direct and honest fashion, and how much of it has to be done in a really roundabout, gradual, get behind something kind of way, if you know what I mean.
You mean how much of it's done by omission and how much of it's done by commission? I try very hard to find the paths to achieving a goal that are as straightforward as possible. So if you look at the challenges that we confront as a province, there are 100 things that we could tackle. But what I try to do is to listen to people and hear the things that are really, really on people's minds that we know are needed. I'll use the retirement pension plan as an example. Some people thought that, that was kind of out of the blue. Where was this coming from? But we kept hearing it from people. We knew that it was an issue. And so because of that, putting the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan in our budget and in our platform actually was a way of addressing a need that we had heard. As I say, there are 50 other things that we could have identified, but I am always looking for the things that we can do and are going to address a need. So it's that blend of what's actually possible to achieve, because I don't want to spend years in government not achieving things. They may be the right things to do, but we can't get there. I want to actually get there and get some things done.
Thank you.
And we have a question in the far back of the room. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Alexandra Felix. I'm with Up Express, and you're going to be...
There you go.
Yes, there we go.
Yes,
Next week.
We're going to get that done.
It's going to be great. I'd like to know, what is the failure you learned the most from?
The failure that I learned the most from. Well, actually, it's interesting. The failure that I probably learned the most from, it happened a long time ago. And it's not actually a political failure, but it has informed the way I do politics. I was a graduate student, and I was volunteering with the Department of Indian Affairs, the Federal Department of Indian Affairs, as it was called at that point. It was 1978, which I know to the youngsters in the room sounds like, the dinosaurs were still walking the earth. But I was volunteering with the Department of Indian Affairs. I was doing my linguistics master's degree, and I was sent to a reserve north of Hearst to do a language survey. And I was so ill prepared to do it that I swore I would never let myself get into a situation like that again, because I didn't know how I should be interacting. I just didn't have enough support around me, and I was worried the whole time I was there, and I stayed there for over a month. I worried the whole time that I was there that I was offending people, and it really has informed the way I listen to communities and my determination that we will be sensitive to other people's reality and not bring bright ideas from whether it's Queen's Park or Ottawa, wherever we happen to be, but we'll actually listen to people and let the solutions come from communities that understand the issues. So that was a formative experience that was an academic experience, but it was actually, for me, strong political learning.
We have time for one more question. Oh, come on, really?
We answered all.
You answered everything.
Oh no, there's a hand.
We've got a hand up. Oh, great. Go ahead.
Who's first? Thank you. I'm Kim Pickett. I'm the Vice President of PASB for the Ontario Association of Certified Engineering Technicians and Technologists. And I also chair our Women in Technology Committee. So my question is kind of twofold. We have a real struggle getting women to come into engineering technology fields. And I think part of it, being a mom as well as a career woman, is that people feel pressure, as you were saying, with finding the work-life balance. And I just wondered if you had any advice for us as to how you found the work-life balance, being a mom, being a career person, and doing all that you do.
So work-life balance is probably a bad thing to ask me about. But I will say that, well, two things. I mean, my particular trajectory was such that I was working part-time when my kids were little. I didn't get into elected office until my kids were a bit older, but I was always doing things outside the home, inside the home, a combination of looking after the kids, volunteer, and paid work. But I think the answer to that, the bigger answer to that question has to be within individual workplaces, within individual organizations, figuring out how to make them more adapted to family life. You know, how do we impress upon ourselves in our work environments the importance of allowing people to do that incredibly important caregiving and be there for their kids, and at the same time have the opportunity to excel. So, you know, whether that is flexible schedules, whether that is finding ways to value that time that people are off. I don't know what all the solutions are, because every one of your workplaces is slightly different. You know, technology has allowed us opportunities in terms of working in a distant way. So I think there are many, many solutions. I think the most important thing is raising the question. Where is that conversation happening? Is it happening in the lunchroom among the people who need it the most, or is it happening in the executive suites where the decisions are actually made? So I think raising those questions, the solutions will come. We can put people on the moon. So we can figure this out if we actually ask ourselves the question.
Thank you very much. That's all the time we have for the questions today. Don't go away. Don't go away. I want to thank the Premier for taking the time out of her very demanding schedule to share her insights with us today. And we'd now like to call to the stage Sheila Stoneham, Senior Vice President Marketing with Shoppers Drug Mart, to do the official goodbye. And thank you.
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to say thank you on behalf of Shoppers Drug Mart and the Women of Influence for you all joining us this afternoon. I'd also like to say thank you to the Women of Influence for providing a forum for us to be inspired by remarkable women. And particular thank you to their remarkable leader, Carolyn Lawrence. You know, at events such as this, I walk in, I think, if I walk away with just one insight, one way of thinking differently about my work or my home life, something that just makes me just a little bit better, then I walk away feeling like I have spent my time wisely. But I think you'd all agree with me that we're not walking away today with just one little nugget. I think we're all walking away with several nuggets, and I thank you so very much for that, Premier Wynne. Okay, so here's my golden nugget, because I only have time for one, so I'm going to make it golden, and I hope you all like it. Here it is. We need to redefine how we talk about the influence of women. We have to talk about women of influence not just as those who have titles that were previously held by men, but all the women in our lives. So we think of mothers, daughters, grandmothers, those people that are caregivers for those who can't take care of themselves. We're all influential. And in so redefining women of influence, what we'll actually do is we'll amplify our voice. And it won't be just the few of us speaking out because we have the titles and we're on the podium, but in actual fact, we will actually have a much greater impact on society. And I leave you with this thought, as I sum up your brilliant presentation today, is that on the podium, we are never alone. Okay. So, I must thank our fabulous Master of Ceremonies, Marcia McMillan. Can you believe it? I stumbled over your name. So brilliant, so talented, and here I am. Marcia, thank you. I'd also like to thank the top 25 women of influence. And we know who you are. I loved you standing up. And of course, our keynote speaker, Premier Wynne. Thank you so very much for your time. Okay, so I was going to say, I'd like to present you, on behalf of the Women of Influence, communities across Canada, with a small token of our appreciation for your presentation today, but it's Tiffany and it's not small. It's fabulous. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm shaking your hand. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Great to meet you and talk with you. Thank you. All right, thank you, Shannon and Premier Wynne, for this wonderful afternoon. Just a few announcements before we get to the door prizes. First of all, I want to thank Deloitte once again and all of the sponsors for their commitment and their foresight to women's advancement. In addition, I want to extend our gratitude to our team of Women of Influence volunteers for their help here today. And thank you, everyone, for coming out today and taking the time to tap into this powerful community of women. As we all know, finding the time to do this is difficult. We know also that each time we invest in gaining new insights, tools, and perspectives, we're more empowered to create our best careers and our lives. We're just a little bit better every time we walk out of these doors. Women of Influence encourages you to continue to invest in yourselves through courses in the Advancement Center for Senior Managers, aiming for executive leadership. And I want to thank everyone for being so welcoming to me each time. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces back again. You've really become great friends. Now, to the prizes. For the first grand prize of this afternoon, one very lucky winner will receive the gift of holiday cheer from our feature sponsor today, Jones, New York. This prize includes high tea for two at the Windsor Arms Hotel, followed by a personal consultation with a Jones, New York stylist at Hudson's Bay to help you select your perfect holiday outfit. The value of this prize is $1,000, and we are going to ask you once again to come to the stage. So, the winner is Linda Hartley with CIBC. Going once? Going twice? Sorry, Linda. So the winner of the Jones New York Prize, if she's in the room, is Maria Delson with IBC. Maria? Maria Delson. Maria, sorry. Yay! Okay, congratulations to Maria. Now for our second grand door prize, valued at over $10,000. Today's winner is going to receive the following from all of the amazing sponsors here today. From Shoppers Drug Mart, a $100 Beauty Boutique gift card from Queen's School of Business and Executive Education Program. This is valued at up to $3,500. From Porter Airlines, 2 round-trip tickets to any of their 20 destinations. From Kids and Company, an emergency backup package of 15 childcare visits to any Kids and Company location. From Knightsbridge Human Capital Solutions, a signed copy of You First by New York Times bestselling author Dr. Leanne Davey. From Maclean's, a 1-year subscription to Maclean's magazine, Canada's most popular current affairs magazine. I am only halfway through this list. From BMO Nesbitt Burns, 2 tickets to our spring 2015 season opener luncheon in Toronto, featuring an exclusive C-suite panel. From the Cambridge Group of Clubs, a 1-month executive fitness membership and personalized fitness benchmarking session at the Toronto Athletic Club. From LinkedIn, an upgraded Sales Navigator premium account for 1 year, which includes a half-hour consult with a LinkedIn account manager and a gift basket. And finally, from the Women of Influence Advancement Center, 1 full year of executive leadership and training courses. This alone is valued at close to $5,000. And the winner, please be in the room, Marlene Buckley with Aviva. Yes! Cue the music. Thank you. I know it's a long walk. It's like Olympic music. You have to go. Congratulations to our winners. Thank you so much for coming out this afternoon and for your continued support. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. We look forward to seeing you again in spring 2015 for another amazing lineup. Thanks, everybody.